Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here for this training. I recognize that time is extremely valuable and incredibly precious. So I don't take it lightly that you've chosen this moment to be here, to learn with me, and to understand your anxiety a little bit better. So for that, I'm incredibly grateful. So I'm going to start by sharing my slides and we'll get into it. All right. So welcome to this training on the anxiety-free method. So this program, my paradigm, my viewpoint, my message, and everything I teach is that healing anxiety is not complicated. It's not hard, and it doesn't need to be confusing. Really, you don't need to know what to do. You just need to realize that your mind and body are actually responding properly to the inputs that you've been given it, right? You are not the problem. The dysfunctional system that we live in that's caused you to become out of balance, out of alignment, the situation that we're living through right now is really a breeding ground for anxiety. And so the question then becomes, how do I take it back to the basics? How do I embrace a life without anxiety? So a lot of you might be thinking you have to work hard to get rid of anxiety, or that you have to get rid of a lot of things in your life in order to get rid of anxiety. But the reality is your body is always trying to return to homeostasis, to balance, always. And it's your job to just allow that to happen. There's this beautiful analogy I love so much that really goes like this. When you're swimming upstream, life feels hard and complicated and tough. And unfortunately, society rewards us for swimming upstream, right? For fighting against all odds, for working hard to get ahead. But the reality is, when you learn how to swim with the current, life gets easy. It feels easy. And that's what I'm trying to teach you here in this program, is how to let the current take you and how to swim with it. So a lot of people are intimidated to get started because they're afraid of change. And this I understand, right? You might think, I don't have a support system, or I don't know where to start, or I don't think I have the mental fortitude. I hear that one a lot. Or maybe you believe that anxiety is like something that you're stuck with because you're genetically programmed. That's how you are. So most people actually are afraid to make changes because they have assumptions about what change entails, right? They think it's going to be complicated, or it's going to involve hours and hours of dedication, right? They or you might think it's about giving up your lifestyle, or you don't even know where to begin. The reality is, though, you guys, it's about simple shifts that bring about massive change. Okay, simple shifts that you can make in your daily life experience that can help your mind and body heal. Okay, things that actually many people in today's modern world don't do. So we don't really talk about what you give up. That's not really my MO here. And the truth really is that a lot of the rhetoric around healing anxiety is coming from this place of toxic positivity, right? Just be positive, good vibes only. And it has nothing to do with healing anxiety. The fact really is that these mindsets, these viewpoints that we've adopted are really only contributing to our experience with anxiety and making it worse. So the one thing I like to teach my students in my online course is how to unlearn what you have learned from hustle culture, from toxic positivity, and from this culture that embraces doing. Okay, so it's about less doing and more being, right? How to think in a way that supports your mind and body. So I show you how to incorporate these easy little routines to support your mindset and to really make simple, subtle shifts to support, who you are as a human. So it's wild to me how little things like exposure to sunlight first thing in the morning, putting your feet on the ground to connect with the earth, eating more foods with magnesium, right? Beverages you can make to support your adrenal functioning. All these things, like healing your gut, are intricately connected to mood. And so all of which we'll be talking about in a bit. So I like to use this example of magnesium right here because it's something that most of us are deficient in. So to take a step back, I lost my train of thought. To take a step back, I am going to walk you through the tangible and the tactile changes you can make to help you get on your way and make one change right now. So this is an example that I like to use because a lot of us are deficient in magnesium and we don't even know it. And it's actually something that is intricately connected to mood and well-being. So the connection between magnesium depletion and anxiety is widely studied, and a simple shift in increasing your magnesium intake can have massive impacts on your state of mind and your mood. So for example, I love making myself a juicy salad with arugula and spring mix, whipping up a salad dressing with avocado, fresh lemon zest, topping it with sunflower seeds and lentils, adding a bunch of spices like paprika, ginger, onion, garlic. And then I never skimp on chocolate at the end of the night, dark chocolate, because I know that all of these things support my magnesium levels. So really, you're having a delicious meal, or I'm having a delicious meal that's nutrient dense and supporting my mood, right? So it's about choosing quality ingredients and foods that are full of nutrients rather than putting garbage into your body. So that's one of the things that you might not be aware that really supports mood and well-being, but most people are not paying attention to it. Another reason I commonly hear from people about why they don't start on this whole journey of taking care of self and managing anxiety is because they don't feel like they have a support system and they don't know where to begin. And I can completely relate to this, really. And I want to reassure to you that that's 100% okay. Most people don't know where to start, and that's really exactly what my course is all about. Walking you through each step, holding your hand, teaching you why and what protocol to implement at each stage. Really, I teach you how to figure out what is right for your unique mind and body. There isn't a cookie cutter approach, and there's definitely not a one size fits all mentality. So my method is not prescriptive, right? We're not all the same and we don't all come from the same background, nor do we have all the same resources. So it doesn't have to be hard, and you don't have to know what you're doing to just begin. So let's briefly talk about my story with anxiety, or I should say overcoming anxiety. So first and foremost, I know you didn't come here to learn about me, but I do think it's important to kind of paint this picture and give you some context about what I struggled with, and then how and why I became passionate about teaching this subject and teaching others how to naturally heal or holistically heal anxiety. So if you are new here, I'm Jen. I'm a psychologist and I'm the owner of the Anxiety.community. I'm a leader in holistic anxiety treatment and the creator of the Anxiety-Free Method, which is an online course. So to take it back, when I was in my teens and 20s, I really didn't care about my mind and body. I took it for granted, to be honest with you. I was overworked. I was really stressed about school and my various tasks and jobs. I overexercised. I socialized as much as my body could physically handle, essentially burning the candle from both ends. So there I am on a hike. I was probably 19 years old, looked super happy, but deep down, I was not okay. So eventually, stress adds up and it manifests into dysfunction and dysbiosis in your body, right? And it creates that feeling of just being out of alignment. Your body actually is designed to handle acute, intense stress, right? That is what activates our fight or flight response. But over time, this prolonged exposure to stress accumulates in the body and it just becomes too much to handle. So when you're young, it's actually, you're, for the most part, your body is able to handle it because you're resilient and vital. But as we age, we need to take greater care of our minds and bodies for them to function properly. And so without proper nutrition, adequate sleep, sunlight, downtime is a big one. Our bodies just essentially crash. So maybe you've reached that point of crash. Maybe you're not quite there. But what happened to me was that I started to develop very real and mental manifestations of anxiety. So cystic acne, really intense worry. I went through a period of pretty dark depression, mood fluctuations, cravings, and a fraught relationship with my partner at the time. It wasn't good, and I was not, it wasn't a good situation. I feel like I just didn't have the energy to be a happy, functioning person. So for me, it was a subtle grow. It happened over time, slowly. But what happened eventually was I just woke up one morning and was like, I'm not okay. I am not a happy person and I'm totally burnt out, right? I have to do something. I didn't know why this was happening because everyone around me was doing the same thing, not getting enough sleep, drinking a lot, working like crazy, like just being a full-on stress robot at work. But I knew deep down that feeling like this was not normal. I felt like I was essentially pushing a boulder up a mountain. It wasn't until years later that I put the pieces together, and what this low state led me to was, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this, by the way, is wanting, needing, and desperately desiring something different. So, being the good, inquisitive student and person that I am, I spent days of Googling symptoms, how to fix my mood, home remedies, everything. Right? It's funny because, after years of learning how to quote unquote fix myself, fix my anxiety, and even obtaining a doctorate degree in psychology, they actually say that psychologists study psychology to figure out themselves and their family. And I can say that is fully true, shamefully. What I eventually learned is that anxiety is normal. Anxiety is a normal response to a dysfunctional world. My body was responding exactly as it should, given the inputs I was giving it. I also came to understand that the body is infinitely wise and that all of my symptoms were connected to one another and reflective of this lifestyle that I was living and of the things that I was unknowingly exposing myself to, toxins, things like that. So what I want you to know is that anxiety was the physical manifestation of this feeling of being out of alignment, this feeling of swimming upstream. So I started learning everything I could about how to heal naturally, both inside of my doctorate program and independently. Like, I personally wanted to try and do everything in my power to avoid medication because of the harmful side effects I'd seen in like my friends and I had been warned about. First and foremost, it flat out not working for half the population, weight gain, dependence, not necessarily chemically, but I didn't want to rely on a pill to solve my problem. And I deep down knew that it was just a band-aid or like a quick fix solution. And I wanted to address the real root cause. So over time, I started how to live in a healthier way. in a way that is in alignment with the natural rhythms of the world, with myself. And so what I did was I started to make changes. I made changes like accepting what I could control and letting go of what I couldn't. Eating nutrient-dense foods. I became superfood obsessed, which I've kind of now stepped back on and understand the full picture a little bit better. Prioritize sleep, getting 8 hours, getting more downtime to myself, exposure to sunlight every day, making sure I spent time in nature every day, and then optimizing my gut health. So things like fermented foods and mindful eating. Get into all of that in the anxiety-free method, but those were a few of the changes that I started to implement, and I pretty quickly started to see changes. My mood became more balanced, my cycle became regular, I was getting along better with myself mostly, and then as a result with my family and friends at a deeper level. I wasn't so focused on what other people thought of me. And I just from there felt motivated by that good feeling to keep going and going and going. Like it was my first real glimpse of hope. And that, you guys, is so powerful. That first glimpse of hope. I finally felt like I was someone who could actually lead a happy, fulfilled, productive life. I really noticed that there were periods of time, that the periods of time where I felt stress went from multiple times every day to once a week to rarely ever now. I feel like I truly feel like now I have a handle on my emotions and how I regulate and respond to stress. There's this like letting go of that looming fear of the future and that existential angst about failing. And so in all of this, in this journey, was a life-changing experience. I felt better. I was no longer paralyzed by anxiety like I had been. I felt like I had this space to really flourish and fulfill my potential. Like I could be present and focus and organize my thoughts. And like this lightness and freedom is the best way I can describe it. So ultimately, you guys, this experience was so powerful. It made me want to help others obtain this feeling too. Like I saw so many people in my life struggling, and it made me want to help teach them. I remember personally feeling hopeless. Like I was just doomed to feel like this forever. And like I just so desperately wanted to be a quote unquote chill person, but thought that I would never be able to be that or to just enjoy the present moment or trust my instincts. And the frustrating thing was that, I was getting my doctorate in psychology, and I knew that the research and the medical professionals, they say it's possible to heal anxiety with therapy and medication, and it's possible to overcome it. But my reality at first did not reflect that experience. And it just left me thinking, like, what's wrong with me? If it's so easy to heal, then why can't I just do it? Why am I not able to do this? Like I'm getting my PhD in this, for goodness sakes. Why am I not able to make these changes? So I'm sure many of you guys can relate to that feeling of just feeling stuck and not knowing where to turn. So what I want you to know is that anxiety is a symptom. It's a result of imbalance and dysfunction. A lot of practitioners in the medical and mental health community are trained to treat symptoms. This is the allopathic model of medicine. I'm not knocking it, but I will say that when it comes to anxiety, medication alone masks the symptoms, doesn't treat it. So I think it is useful for someone to use. And if you are someone who is seeing success with medication, that's wonderful. I recommend you continue whatever's working. But I personally wanted to find and teach, and for myself, do it another way. So personally, I'm passionate about finding and addressing the root of the problem. So in my course, I focus on helping you identify and fix your specific root causes of anxiety so that you can also have flourishing relationships, so that you can live freely, feel good, and know what it's like to live in the present moment, right? For so long, I avoided trying new things. I didn't trust my abilities. And I want you to be able to feel comfortable in your skin and to live life to the fullest potential that's meant for you. Really, I know how much anxiety holds you back because I've been there. And I want to teach, I want there to be, and I want you to know there's another way. So to circle back a little bit, I received my doctorate in psychology from the University of Colorado and have been working one-on-one with people in group, let me rephrase that. I've been working one-on-one and working with people in a group capacity. And my mission is to help teach them how to modulate stress and how to develop emotional intelligence overall so that they can overcome anxiety. I, at this point, feel like I have a really good understanding of anxiety as a whole and the root causes of it and what is needed to rebalance. I love working with people one-on-one. It just lights me up. But I noticed there was an incredible need, and I simply don't have the time to meet the growing demand for individualized services anymore. So ultimately, I knew that if I wanted to help serve people, I have to do it another way. And so I learned that an online course was the best way to do that. So I have spent about the past year pulling research, creating materials for the anxiety-free method, and putting this program together for you. And this is how I work with people today through this online course. So the anxiety-free method is available to anyone, anywhere, and at a much lower cost than my one-on-one services would be. So now that you know a little bit about me and why I got started doing what I do, let's chat about medication and therapy and why they don't always help or work in the long term. So we'll start with a little anxiety one-on-one. So anxiety is an intense, excessive, and persistent feeling of worry. It's a fear about everyday mundane situations. So I'm sure you already know that, right? It can create or produce fast heart rate, rapid breathing, sweating, feelings of exhaustion. And it's more common, or more commonly diagnosed, I should say, in women. It can be diagnosed by a medical doctor, a psychologist, or a therapist. And it's actually very normal, right? It's very normal to have anxiety in stressful situations like public speaking or taking a test. In acute situations, it's actually even healthy. Anxiety, though, is an indicator. I want you to start seeing anxiety as an indicator of something underlying, something out of balance. It's letting your body know something is wrong and alerting you to get up and do something. So anxiety is not the cause. I want you to know that anxiety is ironic. And when you understand it, which most people unfortunately do not, that's why everyone seems to have anxiety right now. But once you get it, it becomes very simple to work through. So at its core, anxiety is about avoidance. When you avoid fear through, say, for example, numbing yourself with drugs or alcohol, restricting food intake, binging, purging, exercising, shopping, etc., anything, the uncomfortable feeling goes away. But the unfortunate thing is the relief you experience at that moment does not last long. And the next time the anxiety shows up, the compulsion to seek out the avoidant behavior will become even stronger, hence creating the cycle of anxiety. So like this illustration points out here, what essentially happens is your brain is now wired to think, last time I avoided this fear by drinking, shopping, or eating, and as a result, I felt good. So I'll do it again. And from there, your desire to avoid the situation becomes even stronger, and the avoidant behavior becomes another source of anxiety altogether. So the treatment of anxiety works by breaking the cycle of avoidance. So if you take one thing from this lesson, it's that anxiety shrinks when you face it. But scary, right? Well, yes. To someone first hearing this, I get it. I totally get it. But that is what I teach you in the anxiety-free method, the how. Once you know the how, it becomes way less scary. I promise you this. So most people try to treat anxiety with medication and therapy, and then they get frustrated because it doesn't work, or it doesn't always work, I should say. Really, what the data suggests is that approximately 70% of patients will respond to benzodiazepine treatment, and that would be up to 40 milligrams a day of benzos, or the equivalent, for at least 3 to 4 weeks. But the irony is, and this is what always trips me up, less than 2/3 of people will achieve remission of symptoms long term. So what the heck is up with that? The problem with this is that medication addresses the symptom. It masks the symptom and does not address the root cause. It is a Band-Aid when you do it alone. So holistic practitioners want to get to the root cause. And this is why when you stop medication and when you stop going to therapy, you go back to having anxiety. So like I said, I'm all for trying what works. And if medication and therapy have worked for you, I fully support that. I'm guessing though that you're here because it hasn't, or because you're looking for another way, an alternative way. So I'm really all for doing what works, but also I'm recognizing that I'm not into signing someone up for therapy for life or medication for life. Like I know there's another way and I want to teach you it. So, okay, what is this all about? So the anxiety-free method focuses on, first and foremost, helping you address the root cause, your specific root cause. I also want to say, if you are someone who has tried medication and it's only made your anxiety worse, I feel your pain, really. One of the reasons for this is because when you put your faith into this pill, and to some extent have the expectation that it's going to do something, it's going to work, when it doesn't, it leaves you feeling even more hopeless and even more out of control. But I want you to remember, you are not broken. Your mind and your body are responding properly. And in my work, I come from this perspective of wholeness, not brokenness. When you realize your body works, all you need to do is change the inputs. So that's what we're going to talk about, how to change the inputs. So in the anxiety-free method, I teach you how to climb out of this hole of I can't heal or this is not for me. And I teach you how to change your mindset and how to lay the foundation for change. So let's talk about the root causes and the triggers for a second. Anxiety has many potential triggers or root causes. It could be nutrient deficiency, early childhood trauma, lack of exposure to sunlight, disconnect from other people and nature, poor diet and lifestyle, or lack of sleep. Everyone has a different combination of factors and triggers that contribute to anxiety. So for example, if you have a really stressful job, it might cause you to not be getting adequate sunlight because you're working in a building away from the sun all day. Then you eat processed foods for lunch because it's quick and easy. You're not moving your body enough because you're sitting at a desk all day. And then you're not sleeping properly because you're not moving your body or eating right. And then boom, just like that, one trigger activates a whole cascade effect and anxiety appears. So in this situation, you would first need to address the vitamin D deficiency by getting into the sun for just 5 minutes in the morning or in the middle of the day, incorporating some sort of movement routine into your day, like walking for 20 minutes, as little as 20 minutes can make a big difference, you guys. And then maybe setting up a sleep routine to help you wind down at night before you just jump into the medication, okay? So if I can give you one tip, it would be to focus on overall health and wellness and not just addressing the symptoms or masking the symptoms of anxiety. I want you to start looking at it in terms of the big picture, in terms of this idea that anxiety is a symptom. It's a warning sign that's telling you something's out of balance, right? The problem with medication and sometimes therapy is that focusing on addressing the symptoms of anxiety alone is essentially putting a Band-Aid on the problem, and it doesn't address the root causes. So now that you know why medication and therapy don't always work and why they're not the best and definitely not the only way to address anxiety, let's talk about how I help people address anxiety by getting to the root cause. And this is through my 3-step method. So how does it work? Step 1 is about setting up your lifestyle, right? This is addressing vitamin and mineral deficiencies, which we'll go over in more detail in the anxiety-free method, but which ones are critical for supporting mood. Getting outside in nature, learning how to appreciate the natural world. We talk about things like exposure to sunlight, spending time in the sun every day for at least 15 minutes, and eating in a way that supports mood and mindset. So foods that are not processed, nutrient dense, and nourishing. Talk about sleep, how to set yourself up for a good night's sleep, drinking water, and practicing these coping tools that will help you manage stress. So for some people, applying these lifestyle foundational tweaks will be more than enough. You'll see results pretty quickly. And I go over how to set up these lifestyle changes in much more detail in the anxiety-free method, but that's just a little overview. Step 2 is about identifying the root cause. So anxiety, right? You guys, anxiety is a symptom, and all symptoms have root causes. So really it's quite simple once you understand, but it's a matter of finding what your specific root causes are and fixing them. And so that's where we get into step 3, following the right protocol or blueprint to address your specific root causes. And this, you guys, is what I outline in the anxiety-free method. I always recommend you follow it in this order because some people, like I just said, are going to notice pretty substantial shifts after making those lifestyle changes, like vitamin and mineral deficiency, nature, sunlight, eating to support your mood, mindset, sleep, all of those things, because those things will support your entire bodily function. And the irony is so many people overlook these things because they think they're already doing the quote unquote right thing, or they think they can circumvent these things because they don't matter and they'll just go straight to the big thing. But the reality is, this is what the foundation is built on. I'd like you to just try asking someone, or even ask yourself, if you are healthy. My guess is that you'll probably say yes. Asking someone if they're healthy is pretty vague and leaves room for a lot of interpretation. So for some, lifestyle imbalances can have a host of negative downstream effects and consequences, like gut health issues, irregular period, nervous system dysregulation. So it's really critical for you to address those things first, right? I always like to say, like, if you don't address those first and you don't address the root causes and going straight to medication, yoga, or meditation even, you'll fall short because you're not really understanding the root cause. And you'll feel even more dysregulated if it doesn't work or if you're not able to do it right. So I don't recommend just starting with medication because of a few different reasons. Well, first, my mission is to help you reduce anxiety in the long term. I'm not just here for a quick fix, and I hope you're not either. I want you to really understand and solve the problem from the core. The other reason is I don't want you to be reliant on medication to solve your problem. I personally think that because I know you have the power within you to do it on your own. You just haven't been shown the right way. So one of the things I help you do in the anxiety-free method is go through the signs and symptoms to narrow down your specific root causes and triggers. And then from there, I help you clearly identify what your next step should be. So for example, again, if someone's presenting like they have kind of depression and anxiety, symptomology of both, if they live in the Northern Hemisphere, it's midwinter and they feel like they have little motivation to do anything, I would recommend they get on a vitamin D supplement or at least get their vitamin D levels tested. Right? If you're presenting with a lot of stomach issues and gut problems, I would recommend a path and a protocol that's more specific to healing gut dysbiosis. But really don't worry about how to find your specific trigger and the path forward because I teach you exactly how to do this in the course. So to recap, step 1 is to do the lifestyle changes to set up the foundation. I go over how to do this in the early beginning part of the course. Step 2 is all about learning how to identify your specific root causes. And then step 3, I lay out the specific protocols to deal with each challenge or root cause. And then you apply that protocol to your root cause. Oof, said root cause like 45 times there, sorry. So once you know your root cause or your triggers, you will know what to do and how to move through it, right? There's a simple solution, and that's what I share with you in the later modules. This is the step-by-step guide or the blueprint that will help you understand, point out your triggers, and then move through them. So another example might be if your specific root cause or trigger is poor boundaries and workplace stress, there's a protocol for you to follow that will help you set up stronger boundaries and feel less stress around people pleasing. If your root cause is biological in nature, say a vitamin D deficiency, there's a protocol to follow that addresses that. And if your root cause is feeling disconnected from yourself and others in the natural world, there are steps that you can take to ease that feeling of isolation and disconnect. So you get the point, I hope. So if you're feeling uncertain about how to address the root cause, I get that. It really can be intimidating. But I want to reassure you, and I really want to hold your hand through this process. This is why I lay it out in the way I do. It's kind of like a blueprint, a guide that's going to provide you these step-by-step protocols to take to eliminate the guesswork, right? Overall, this is a multifaceted approach that involves taking a look at your specific signs and symptoms because they can actually tell you a lot. But then we're not stopping there. We're addressing those psychosocial factors. So things like work stress, job, relationships, mindset. And then we look at your specific history. So genetic predispositions, trauma, abuse, living through a really significant life-changing event. Ultimately, looking at these three factors will point you in the right direction, right? And by this point, you will know what to look for and what to do to move forward. So the anxiety-free method covers all 3 of these steps: identifying the foundation, so nutrient deficiency, sunlight, nature, identifying your root causes and triggers, and then the protocols or the step-by-step guides to walk you through how to navigate each trigger. I always recommend people start with nutrition. I spend a lot of time talking about this because it's the foundation. It affects quite literally everything. If you're feeling crappy because you put something into your body that's not supporting you, it's going to be hard to cultivate the right mindset, right? So each module really builds on itself, pointing to and pointing closer towards the ultimate goal of reducing and relieving and overcoming anxiety so that you can live a life that's aligned and infused with joy and simplicity. So I think starting with nutrition is incredibly empowering because you can do it right away. You don't have to wait. You don't have to check a bunch of boxes in order to go to the store to get the right food. Once you have this knowledge, you can get going right away. It's a really quick, easy win that gets the ball rolling in the right direction. So it's good because then you'll feel better quickly. And from there, successive changes will seem easier and more manageable to make. I hope that makes sense. So there is a lot of unlearning that is going to happen, that needs to happen in order to support a balanced human being. And a lot of what we've learned or embodied about health and wellness comes from hustle culture, diet culture, and toxic positivity, which promote this whole idea of grind, 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 wake up at 5 a.m., get your HIIT workout in, weight loss, down the kale salads, which all of these things actually activate our stress response in our bodies even more. So what I do is I teach people how to prioritize routines and habits that bring joy, that increase your emotional state. And every moment, you have the choice to tune into this energy of panic, fear, not enough, or you can tune into this energy of joy, lightness, and ease. Like just try to feel into that right now for this moment. Like you can feel the difference when you feel joy, lightness, and ease, as opposed to not enough and fear. So in this course, I teach you specifically how to make that choice, to choose the thought or feeling or action that feels supportive, that brings about joy. I teach you how to prioritize foods and activities and routines that support your mood and your body functioning as a whole, rather than degrade it. Most of the time, people just don't know what they're doing is causing them to feel out of balance and anxious and depressed. And the solution really lies in just learning how to do it. So health, happiness, joy, living in alignment, getting rid of anxiety, it's about getting back to the basics. It's about tuning into the present moment, enjoying connection with others, appreciating nature, getting your feet in the sand, your hands in the dirt, appreciating the beautiful benefits that plants and real food can have on your body. It's about developing routines that are more closely aligned with the natural world. I recognize that modern day life places demands on us, so I'm not recommending you go live in a teepee, but it's about getting back to our roots as much as what modern society allows. It's about what you can add to your life and not what you need to stop doing. It's not even about deprivation. So even just this perspective, switching your mindset to think about what you can add rather than what you have to stop doing, will add so much freedom. So the key is to just start, you guys. So I gave you some steps that you can do right now. So you can go ahead and begin to incorporate some of the things that you've learned in this video, like getting sunlight, addressing vitamin D deficiency, setting boundaries with coworkers. My other recommendation, if you still feel like you need more guidance and direction on how to apply these principles specifically, I give you that direction in the anxiety-free method. Really, it's important for me to mention this because providing direction to you is my goal. I know how confusing it is to jump in at 100 miles an hour. There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of misguided principles, and for that matter. So a lot of these things that I share and a lot of these ideas probably won't make sense if you're not understanding the underlying why. So I get questions from people every day telling me how stuck they feel and how unsure they are about moving forward. So if you are someone who has tried this or that, or if you've gone through my free content and you're still wanting more guidance on how to apply these principles to your specific situation, I give you that direction in my course. So now that we've gone over my method for healing anxiety naturally and some of the steps that you can take right now to get started supporting your mind and body, let's just go over a little bit about the anxiety-free method. So my mission is to help you get to the root cause of your anxiety rather than putting a Band-Aid on the symptom, aka medication. So I created this course specifically for people like you in mind, people with anxiety looking to take a holistic approach in managing and resolving it. Oops. So the anxiety-free method is an online course. It's all about healing anxiety holistically by addressing the root cause. So this course will teach you the foundation, the lifestyle, the supports that support your well-being. We'll also talk about triggers and root causes of anxiety and how to address those triggers and root causes, right? We do that through the steps, the blueprint to overcome each trigger. So each module has a specific and detailed lesson. It has guides, it has recommendations and resources and steps to follow so that at the end of each section, you'll feel empowered to take action. And most importantly, you'll know what to do. So you'll learn how to become more resilient to stress and what to do to support positive mood. People often ask me, will diet alone heal my anxiety? Will this alone heal my anxiety? And the reality is everyone's root cause is different, right? If your root cause is nutrient deficiency, then yes, diet will make a huge difference. I had a client recently start eating a more balanced diet. She was under eating actually and consuming a lot of, well, not a lot because she wasn't eating that much, but most of the food she was consuming was highly processed. She was drinking soda. And after making these swaps that I recommended to her diet and incorporating some of the herbs that I recommend, like maca and ashwagandha, she noticed a massive change. So her root cause was really mostly diet. But really, it depends on what caused your anxiety in the first place, because everyone's root cause is going to be different. But I would venture to guess that many of you will see dramatic improvements in anxiety from just part one of the course by implementing those foundations. Once you laid out the foundation, we then move into part two. Part two is all about identifying your specific root causes and triggers, right? And then how to move through each one. So these root causes or triggers include psychosocial in nature, right? They could be burnout, work stress, poor boundaries, people-pleasing tendency, gut health issues, and so on. But the critical thing is to then know what to do to move through your root cause. So some of the things will apply to you, some will not, but you go through the modules, you go through the sections that apply to you the most. Oh, okay. So this course includes 11 modules with audio and video lessons, downloadable handouts and worksheets that go with the video and audio lessons, and then links to free resources that I and many of my clients have found incredibly helpful. So how it works is as soon as you purchase or log in to the course, you have access to all the modules and all the homework. You go through it at your own pace. So if you have time one week, dive in. And if you're really busy another week, you can pull back. You can really go, that's the nature of this course, is you can go back to it whenever you need specific guidance around a topic. So say setting boundaries is something you've been struggling with lately. You can go back to that section and listen to that module and understand how to do that. If you're struggling with nutrition, you can go to that module and focus on that. So the wonderful thing is you have lifetime access to this program, and you can go back and refer to it whenever or however often you need. You'll also have access to the updates that I create in the future. For whatever reason, if I add in new research, new modules, new material, you'll be grandfathered into the price that you enrolled at and have access to all future updates. So really, this program is the exact thing I wish I had 10 years ago, before I went on this long, epic journey of self-understanding and discovery. The anxiety-free method is incredibly comprehensive and really easy to follow and understand. I also added a bonus right now that I'm really excited to share with you guys, and that is access to my top-selling workshops. So my 2 top-selling workshops are how to navigate the world as a highly sensitive person, and my relationship anxiety workshop. So the relationship anxiety workshop will help you really gain self-esteem around your interpersonal relationships, right? In the anxiety-free method, I don't spend too much time focusing on relationships, but in this workshop, we really expound upon relationships, attachment theory, self-esteem, and how to navigate the 4 attachment styles and how each one of those attachment styles impacts your current relationship dynamic. So really, this is all about moving through your insecure attachments. And then the highly sensitive person workshop is a step-by-step guide that will help you understand this trait of sensitivity and will help you thrive in a chaotic world. So in this workshop, we cover how to make sense of this misunderstood personality trait, how to prevent and recover from emotional exhaustion, how to stop overanalyzing people's words and gestures, how to stop absorbing the emotion and energy of people around you, and how to feel calm under pressure. So this is an additional 3 hours of video content. Each of these workshops is or was sold for $76 US. So that's an additional $152. And if you purchase the anxiety-free method now, all of that is included within the price of the course that you enroll today. So, okay, I want you to come away from this training right now realizing that your body and your mind are responding properly. I say this all the time, but you are not broken. When you come from this perspective of wholeness, not brokenness, it becomes much easier to change, to treat, to manage. You are not the problem. The dysfunctional system is causing you to feel out of balance, right? The situation that we're living and breathing right now is a breeding ground for anxiety. Oops. A lot of people think if I fall off the bandwagon or if I don't have time to devote myself and my energy to this work, it's not going to work. But that is just simply not true. Your body, I want you to think of it this way, is trying to return to homeostasis, to balance, always. It's your job to allow that to happen. There's this beautiful analogy, and I shared it in the beginning, and I just want to share it one more time. I love it. It says, when you're swimming upstream, life feels hard and complicated and tough, and that's when we get anxiety. The unfortunate thing is society rewards us for swimming upstream, for fighting against all odds, for working hard to get ahead. But the reality is, when you learn how to swim with the current, life feels easy. And that's what I'm trying to teach you in this program. How to let go and let the current take you. So I'm coming from this perspective, this knowing, this deep knowing that you are already whole. You don't need to work to get rid of anxiety. You can, but there's an easier way. I want to teach you how to embrace this lightness, this ease that life has been trying to bring you. You know, anxiety, getting rid of anxiety, managing it, it's about getting into the texture of life, playing, having fun, and embracing all the qualities of yourself, even the ones that you don't like, with compassion rather than resistance. It's a subtle but profound shift in how you think about yourself and life that makes a huge difference. So I really want to meet you where you're at. And I want you to understand that anxiety is not bad. So let that sink in for just a second. This, you guys, is where the real magic happens. All right. So thank you so much for coming and for listening to this training. If you have any questions about the anxiety-free method, please email me at hello@theanxietydoc.com, or you can send me a message on Instagram at theanxietydoc. And I look forward to chatting with you and from hearing your stories about your success. So I look forward to having you if you decide to join and hearing how it goes. All right, take care. Bye.